Good afternoon, football fans, and welcome to opening weekend of the USL Championship right here in Fenton, Missouri at Toyota Stadium as St. Louis FC and Anthony Pulis take on the visiting Indy 11 led by Martin Rennie. And tonight's match is brought to you by the Cheshire Inn and HLM property. Tyler Terrence along with none other the incomparable and way overdue ex-German pro Devin Kerr. And Devin, St. Louis FC coming off of their most successful season in franchise history. They bring back what is probably going to be their leading goal scorer in franchise history, possibly at the end of the day. He is our Slissa player to watch, Mr. Kyle Gregg.
Let's get right into it. Kyle Gregg, 13 goals, 2 assists. Really thought the assist side of things would have been higher. Unfortunately, supporting cast lacking just a bit. His coach went out in the offseason, did some nice work, but Kyle Gregg gives you that ability to stretch the back line, looking for a little help around him. Speaking of help, Martin Rennie got a lot of it in this offseason. He and Indy 11 went out and did some work, and interestingly enough, chatting with him, he said he had the ability this offseason to scout around a little bit more, find the pieces that he really wanted. If you remember last year, came into camp very late, about 2 weeks before the start of preseason, had to play the hand he was dealt. Did well with it, but more toys to play with this year.
And the Scotsman really just loaded up in the offseason. This Indy 11 team investing a lot of money, a lot of resources into a lot of big names, and we couldn't fit all of them onto the screen. Devin, could you make the argument Indy 11 probably had the best offseason of 2018-2019?
They've got my vote for sure, especially when you take a look on the offensive side of things. Really lacking last year, with all due respect. Ben Spies and Jack McInerney weren't necessarily the ones to get it done. What do? They go out and get the all-time USL goal scorer, the great Dane Kelly. He'll be paired up with Eni Volson, Illich possibly sitting in that hybrid 10. Oh, by the way, couple FC Cincinnati guys, not just Kenny Walker, but Gibson, Barrett, and Newton. Anthony Pulis did some work as well.
They did some work, and really when you talk to Anthony Pulis, it was a successful season last year for St. Louis because they got their first ever playoff appearance. They fell in the Western Conference opening round to Orange County. Tony Walls got sent off in the 21st. When we asked him about it, he sort of wanted to put it in the rear view. He said that it's not lingering. We're just moving on to the next season. But the St. Louis FC side, they were stingy defensively. They did a really good job of holding things down in the back, but moving forward is where they needed to improve, and I think that they can check that box.
You speak to Anthony Pulis, his biggest preach is about consistency, and that's what you saw last year out of them, especially like you mentioned, Tyler, on the defensive side of things. Did so well moving from the back line all the way through, but in the final third, really lacking that finesse. He hopes he's found some striking partners for Kyle Gregg. Look at Caleb Calvert coming over from the Charlotte Independence, had some stints with Colorado as well. Paris G is an interesting one. He should tee it up nice with Rivas on the right. Some high-powered offense this year.
Two teams who made their debut in the USL playoffs a year ago, duking it out for 3 points in a juicy opening weekend fixture in the USL Championship. It's St. Louis FC and Indy 11 when we come back.
This year we developed Ale d'Or, which is a beer brewed exclusively for the St. Louis Football Club. We've been partners with STLC for coming up on 3 years now. St. Louis Football Club got some Schlafly, call out our You'll be able to find Ale d'Or obviously out at Soccer Park and then at your local grocery in and around St. Louis, so we're really excited to get it out there in the market. We're excited to debut it in 16-ounce cans for the upcoming season.
When you need quality electrical work for your home or business, look to theelectricalconnection.org. Created as a partnership between IBEW Local 1 electricians and the St. Louis chapter of the National Electrical Contractors Association, the Electrical Connection has been setting the standard for electrical excellence in St. Louis for over 100 years. You can depend on our highly skilled and trained workforce, your #1 source for quality electrical and communication contractors, electricalconnection.org.
A lottery ticket is so much more than a piece of paper. It's wonder, opportunity, dreams. And not just for players. 100% of the profits from every Missouri lottery ticket you play goes back to schools, teachers, and students. Play it forward with the Missouri Lottery.
A year ago, local soccer fans had a chance to celebrate.
And for the first time in club history, St. Louis FC are into the postseason.
Tickets for St. Louis FC on sale now. You can be a part of the action.
And might that just be the goal that sends St. Louis FC into the Western Conference playoffs?
There's season tickets, single game, group, and flex tickets. Something for everyone with St. Louis FC. Support your local team, stlouisfc.com.
Kyle Gregg gives you that ability to stretch the back line.
Tonight's match is presented by Schlafly as the referees making their way out onto the field here in Fenton, Missouri. Again, Tyler Terrens along with Devin Kerr. So glad that you can join us, and we'll jump right into it with the starting 11. And Devin, for this Martin Rennie and Indy 11 side, I mean, we talked about all the firepower that they have moving forward, and when you take a look at this lineup, it is scary running across the top.
We talked about the big boys up top. Let's work from the back forward now. Neville Hackshaw coming over from the Charleston Battery. Really like that acquisition. They're going with a three-back system. That's interesting. We haven't seen that out of Martin Rennie's squads before. Patty Barrett, Corwin Met. Glad that they were able to keep him in. Kenny Walker is a good one. Now, keep an eye, number 27, Josh Penn. Youngster committed to Indiana, only 18 years old. Could be an area of attack for St. Louis. You look at their attack. Traditional 4-4-2. He stacks the boys up top for Anthony Pulis and his squad. Number 24, Jake Fennelson. Gets the nod over Tomas Gomez. That's an interesting one. Gomez usually the number one. Canamfeo comes over. I like that addition a lot. Boehner on the left. It's all about consistency and can they keep that high-power offense of Indy 11 at bay.
And one of the more interesting things to watch about this St. Louis side is going to be how those two forwards are going to deal with the three-back system of Indy 11, as we'll take a look at our keys to the game presented by Schlafly. And for St. Louis FC, it's all about being aggressive and making sure that that core chemistry is there. Indy 11 on the other side, and with all the moves that you made, you got to set the tempo.
Pulis said the biggest thing for him was not only keeping the chemistry, but getting the guys that he's brought in to buy into this system and philosophy. Front-footed, that was a real big thing. Last year they lacked it. They felt like too many opponents dictated the tempo to them, and they were recovering. They really want to take it to the guys on the opposite side of the field. Tempo is key, and it will be everything for Indy 11, especially on the road. You might not see it right now, but the St. Louligans are going to start to funnel in. They really take over this Toyota Field Stadium. The atmosphere is electric, and it's hard to play here. They need to make sure that they're pushing the pace.
Well, it was a question of whether or not we were going to be able to get this game in on time, as there were some storms passing through. Devin, it looked like it might snow in the St. Louis area in the opening moments, as the St. Louis FC new kits for the 2019 season are certainly slick. And we'll take a look at tonight's injury report, which is presented by Proactive Chiropractic. And as you can see, clean bill of health for both coaches, and both coaches sort of gave us a hard time when we had to ask that initial question. The last question you want to ask a coach, especially when you haven't played a game yet, is are there any injuries? And they gave both of us a hard time about it, but it's good to see that they have a clean bill of health moving forward. This Indy 11 side going to be in their white kits, St. Louis FC in their green and blue. USL Championship season 2019 almost set to get underway here from Fenton, Missouri. As Devin said, the St. Louligans and these terrific St. Louis FC fans, and of course the traveling supporters and the Battleborn Brigade, will start to funnel in. As it looks like Albert Dikwa is going to get things started for St. Louis FC. Our head referee, Rosendo Mendoza. Two playoff teams from a year ago. St. Louis an 8 seed in the Western Conference. Indy 11 a 7 seed, both falling in the opening rounds, looking to take the next step and possibly even further, and it all starts right here. And just waiting for that go-ahead from our head referee, as it's Kadeem Dakers to get the 2019 season underway for both St. Louis and Indy 11. And we're officially underway from Fenton, Missouri for the first time in the 2019 USL Championship season. Tyler Terrens along with Devin Kerr, thank you so much for tuning in. Let's turn off the world and turn on the game. St. Louis with some early possession, and they knock it towards Russell Cicerone, who takes a slip. And I have a feeling that the slick conditions might play just a small factor in this one today. Devin? The challenge in the middle of the park. Lewis Hilton coming away with it. Encouraging Dikwa forward, working on Neville Hackshaw. Good matchup there. And Hackshaw getting the better of Dikwa.
The shooter's delight in conditions like this. It's very difficult for a goalkeeper. Pulis brought that up to us, how he felt like the decision-making in the final third wasn't the best last year. But not only having a better supporting cast to help out there, you actually pull the trigger, especially something like this. Just put something on frame. All the water's going to make it bounce around very different for the netminder.
And Matt Boehner able to win the first corner of the 2019 USL Championship season for St. Louis FC. And corner kicks brought to you by Electro Savings. And heading over to take it is their set-piece specialist, Lewis Hilton, who's really coming to his own nicely with this St. Louis club after coming over from the Charlotte Independents. 25-year-old from Truro, England. It'll be an outswinger. A lot of air underneath it. Open header at the back post, cleared off the line. And nervy moments in the opening 90 seconds or so for Indy 11. They looked all out of sorts marking on that set piece. Back with Lewis Hilton. Drives it again towards the back post. Evan Newton lines it up. And Indy 11 will be able to push out, but that's got to be a moment of concern there for Martin Rennie with it looked like Sam Fink just naked on the back post.
Something from the training ground for sure. You could see the big center back biding his time. And how about Indy 11 totally losing him? Lost in translation of sorts and just did a good job hanging it back across goal. Almost found the back of the net.
Here comes St. Louis FC again on the front foot and then some. Good sliding challenge from Patty Barrett. It's coming over from FC Cincinnati. And last touch, they're going to say, came off of Dikwa, and it just goes to show how good of a challenge that really was from Patty Barrett. 18 appearances with FC Cincinnati a year ago. It's a good call.
Ref got it right.
Yep.
Great challenge by the defender. Well done, Barrett.
Boehner looking for an option. Indy 11 have struggled to string together consecutive passes. This is probably the best move we've seen from them. Good cutback from Hackshaw. And it goes all the way back for Patty Barrett. And Devin, we talked about this three-back look from Indy 11, and when we saw the lineup come out, both you and I were a little befuddled because we're not used to seeing that from a Martin Rennie side, but when you look at the pieces that they have along the back line, as this falls for Thomasina Voltson, it makes sense in theory, but putting it into practice is something completely different.
The application definitely lacking so far, but look, every coach tells you preseason it's fitness and getting everybody to a natural build and just hoping everything's okay. And how is this going to play out? You know, I actually consider the first few games almost an extension of preseason. I remember chatting with Alan last year in FC Cincinnati, and he said his first 10 games were really the look of what his team was going to be. And if you think about that, it's like, wow, that's 30% of your season. But at the same point in time, all you have is pen and paper right now. It's black and white. What else is it going to be? The three-back system can work. You have to get your midfielders very fit and make sure that they're buying into it. We've seen it, hybrid versions of it, both at Charleston Battery, Bob Lilly at Pittsburgh Riverhounds. They've done that outside wing-back system. But a lot of times you'll see defensive movements coming from those guys. That's not what Martin Rennie here is trying to do. He's got the offensive-minded players, the likes of Kenny Walker. Good movement by St. Louis down the pitch.
Set up by Dakers. Lewis Hilton is going to try it from distance, and easy work for Evan Newton. I tell you what, there is a slew of former FC Cincinnati players on the field right now. You talk about Evan Newton, Russell Cicerone, Patty Barrett. As Indy 11 will have their first real opportunity to move up and get a chance from the dead ball.
It's not the look you want to see 5 minutes into the game. Dane Kelly going to ground. Catches a forearm right across the face. Oh, right there, elbow.
Fanuel Kavita.
Coming across the body. Not necessarily malintent. You can see him trying to spin and fend Dane Kelly off. Kelly had done a good job positioning himself on the weak side of the defender. Chance for everybody to catch their breath. And opening 5-10 minutes of any match, high nerves. What's this going to be? How's it going to play out? Yet alone first game of the season. This might be a good chance for Martin Rennie and his boys to really calm things down a bit as we're playing London Bridge is falling down with St. Louis.
I thought it was Red Rover.
Either one, you know. No one has to.
Well, it's got to be London Bridge if it's Anthony Pulis who's coaching.
There you go. I see what you did there.
Yeah. He actually spent a decent amount of time over in England during the offseason. He saw a number of really good fixtures. Obviously, his father, Tony Pulis, the coach over at Middlesbrough, and he was raving about the quality of play in the English Championship this past year. And he's certainly right. He saw a couple of Bournemouth games. I believe he saw a Watford match as well. A Man United fan, and a Man United fan who, of course, thought that that penalty that was called against Kimpembe was a penalty. And Devin, a number of people have disagreed with us in that regard.
The backlash, both in person and on social media, has been abound, to say the least.
We'll resume with a good-looking set-piece opportunity for Indy 11. Rosendo Mendoza just getting the formalities in order. It's clipped in, not a bad ball. Won by St. Louis initially. Hackshaw getting up for it, loose in the box, and eventually cleared away. Good step from Albert Diqua. There's Russell Cicerone. You could hear Anthony Pulis barking at Sam Fink to move his line up. Fink trying to switch the point of attack. Ended up being a poor touch from Ilya Ilic in the end. One of the big offseason signings for Indy 11. Double digits in goals and assists a year ago, and as we mentioned at the top of the broadcast, really quite the shame that Ilic was not recognized by the league for either a first or second team all-league appearance. And when you looked at the names on those lists, particularly in the statistic category, but really anybody who watched Ilya Ilic last year knows that he was one of those key pieces that makes that Louisville City engine run on their way to their second consecutive USL Cup championship. It's Carl Ouimet. And for Ina Voltson. Dane Kelly working on Fanimal Kavita, and it's offside. It's evident in the early moments, the two-striker system for Anthony Pulis giving the three-back system for Martin Reddy some problems in the back.
Definitely struggling on the defensive side of things for Indy 11, and all the talk and hype that was the offensive movements they've made haven't really panned out yet, have they? I'm watching their movement up and down the pitch, and it's interesting. Kenny Walker is actually tucked inside of Matt Watson right now. Watson pushing himself outside, so Martin Rennie not afraid to let the 34-year-old run around a little bit, push those legs to the limits. Tyler Gibson doing most of the workload in the middle, but really hasn't translated to anything positive in the final third.
Kyle Gregg, the flag's gonna stay down. Good chance for delivery. Tried to peel it back, and it'll be a goal kick, and Indy 11 is furious that the offside flag didn't go up. Lewis Hilton was arguing that there should have been a foul. Can't make everybody happy, but it will be a goal kick.
Rosendo Mendoza, our head referee, looked at the linesman immediately, didn't see the flag up, let the boys play. And how about getting to the byline? That's that finesse lacking right at the end. Could have gotten a ball across, had the trailing runs, was not able to do so. Too many times last year, you saw St. Louis having to either play from behind or give up too many opportunities. It came back to bite them.
Good cover for Matt Boehner in the end. Another former Cincinnati man. Hilton finding Boehner. Good distribution forward for Diqua. Trying to thread the needle. Handled by Patty Barrett. Here comes Russell Cicerone on the pressure. And that St. Louis press in the defensive third of Indy 11 paying off. Hilton. Trying to curl it in. Gregg attempting to lay it off. Contact from Patty Barrett. No call from the referee. Now we're starting to see that clean technical ability of Indy 11. Ilic finding Dane Kelly's feet. Now being knocked out wide. Indy 11 in the mood for Ina Voltson. And broken up in the end. Bradley Camden-Fewo. And a corner coming up for Indy 11. That was by far the most menacing attack we've seen from Martin Rennie's side. Ensuing corner. It's going to come out the other way. Didn't even get an opportunity. And a foul called against Indy 11.
Just moments ago from St. Louis. Like this little teasing ball in from Lewis Hilton. Kyle Gregg's trying to lay this off for the runner behind him. Can't really get his body turned. That's very difficult to do. Especially in these conditions, balls played up, you're trying to contort and push something behind you. But they've definitely been the ones dictating the tempo of this game so far, most of it being played in this third of the field.
Cicerone, delivery takes a deflection. Back by St. Louis, who are spending the 2019 USL Championship season in the Eastern Conference. Who knows what 2020 will hold, as this is their 5th season of existence and their 5th conference. Here comes the youngster Josh Penn working on Matt Boehner. Boehner gets a touch to it, and a corner coming up for Indy 11. And this is a very experienced Indy 11 side moving forward, Devin. Look at Ilya Illich, 27, Dane Kelly, 28, Nina Volton, 31, and then you throw in an 18-year-old Josh Penn, who, according to Evan Newton and Martin Rennie, has sort of captured the locker room by storm a little bit. Seems to be a little bit of a class clown.
The charismatic one, that's just 18 years old, but you've got to have some sort of confidence getting the nod to attend Indiana University. If he ends up going, he's committed so far, but what a way to learn with those guys around you.
Corner towards the back post. Illich just sends it straight up into the air, and it allows Jake Fennelson to make the play.
Can you imagine? Indy Volton hanging out. Young little 18-year-old walks in, a little spunk behind him. No problem, I'll take care of this. But that's good. That shows the confidence that he has, not just as a player, but personally as well. And players that are on the field with you, they want to see that. They want to know that you're capable of going to battle with them. A lot of times you take a look around the corner, see a younger guy, and it's kind of like, great, we got to train with this kid. But he has proved himself worth so far, especially in training, but can that translate to the battleground?
Hilton trying to whip one in, too close to Evan Newton. And it was Newton who brought that point up, Devin, that you're talking about, where sometimes you get those really young kids in the professional situation, especially in their first contract, and they might be a little full of themselves, a little cocky, but Josh Penn sort of came in, was one of the guys immediately. And it just goes to show the culture that Martin Rennie is creating over at Indy 11, as Thomasina Voltson lays it off. Now it's Kenny Walker. Here is Josh Penn. Good idea to try to chop it back, but the touch was a bit heavy. Cicerone gives it away straight to Patty Barrett. Indy 11 starting to settle in the 15th minute here at Toyota Stadium. Neville Hackshaw. Dane Kelly. Joshua Penn. Nobody stepping to him just yet. Around Sam Fink. Still Penn. Whips it across. It's a great ball. Kenny Walker trying to get there. And Kadeem Dakers winning that 50-50 and sending the other way. Referee says play on. Cicerone driving forward. Russell Cicerone still with it. And eventually knocked off the ball. Lewis Hilton trying to clean it up. Good sliding challenge from Kenny Walker. St. Louis fans wanted a foul.
See, won that tackle? That's Illich, tracking all the way back just outside of the 18. Want to talk about a box-to-box midfielder, a guy that likes to get it done. That was what he was capable of in that title run last year for Louisville City. Nice to see him early on showing his boys that he's more than willing to put in the work.
Well, it didn't matter whether it was James O'Connor or if it was John Hackworth. If you weren't going to do the running defensively, you weren't going to play. It was as simple as that. Here's Cicerone looking for Gregg. He was underneath the foot of Patty Barrett just for a moment. And you can tell the conditions here in Fenton, Missouri, it's starting to play a role as the ball's getting caught underneath some players' foot, squirting away from others. Matt Boehner tosses it away in the middle of the field, quite literally. Tyler Gibson the other way, Dane Kelly. mentioned the constant conference changing from St. Louis FC, and from a traveling standpoint, Devin, Anthony Pulis was pretty frank in saying, of course, we'd rather be in the Eastern Conference. It makes it a little bit easier just in terms of trying to deal with those stretches where you might have to go to the Pacific Northwest, as Cicerone thought he might have been in for a moment, and Carl Ouimet takes the easy way out. But in terms of level of competition, and he said with no disrespect, but the Eastern Conference seems to be quite a bit more difficult this year, at least on paper, than the Western Conference is going to be.
It was interesting, not just with the conversation with him, but what we heard from other coaches as well, where they felt the composition of Eastern Conference teams seemed to be, what's the best word? Not complicated. They're predictable in their movements in the sense of it's well orchestrated, you know what they're going to do, and how the Western Conference seems to be wide open, that they kind of think fly by the seat of your pants, much more high tempo. The guys like to play a little bit more in the Eastern Conference, so bouncing back and forth, they said, has that had any effect on how you're going to place it? Absolutely it has. It can totally change our thought process. You can see some of the philosophy that you saw in the Western Conference teams translating over to St. Louis so far. You heard Anthony Pulis yelling at Sam Fink 5 minutes of the game, get your back line up. They're playing a much higher line. They're pressing. I like what I see out of them. A lot of ball control.
Good first touch from Josh Penn. You can tell this kid is extremely technical on the left wing for Martin Rennie. Goes back for Penn. Able to bring it down. Running at Matt Boehner. Penn. Oh my, he's done Matt Boehner. Josh Penn! Saved by Fennelson. It's a wake-up call for Boehner.
That hurt. That's embarrassing. The youngster running at you one-on-one, puts Boehner on skates. Bye-bye, Boehner. Like the move to Josh Penn. Goes near post. Talk about confidence. Fennelson catches that, actually catches the post after it hits his shoulder. Well, that's going to be a topic discussion in the locker room at halftime.
So Josh Penn in his professional debut, putting on the moves. Penn ranked the #1 recruit in the Midwest for his class. 20th overall in the country as Kenny Walker lofts it again towards Hackshaw. Nods it down. Not handled cleanly by St. Louis. And a late challenge from Sam Fink denied the shot. Walker will be able to get there. Straight to the feet of Lewis Hilton, and Patty Barrett stepping up.
The rich get richer. Indiana, Todd Yeagley. Wow. They just pump products out. It's insane.
Unbelievable.
It is insane, the talent that comes out of. A lot of it has made its way into USL this year. Very nice to see at the championship level. A couple guys on loan, a couple guys that have signed first-team contracts. That's nice to see. And how about the conference realignment, by the way? We talk about St. Louis jumping back and forth. Swope Park Rangers
going to the
are in the East this year. They're getting a taste of what is the Tom Barlow show. Quick back-to-back strikes. Marcus Epps jumping in, down 3-1 about 65 minutes in. It'll be interesting to see how Swope handles what goes on in the Eastern Conference.
Rematch of the 2016 USL Cup on the opening weekend of 2019 USL Championship. It's Bradley Camden Faywo. Some decent defending. Strong play. Oscar Umar is able to stay on his feet and win the free kick, and the St. Louis faithful, probably some of the more savvy fans in the USL Championship, Devin, and they certainly appreciate the effort of Oscar Umar, who's coming over from the Richmond Kickers, part of that Right to Dream Academy in Ghana. Flicked on, Albert Dikwa. Came over from OCB with Anthony Pulis after he got the job. Matt Boehner did well to just knock it back. I always know what defensive plays you're going to give a little golf clap to. It's the defender nodding it back to the keeper. It's a good play from an outside back, just keeping the ball and keeping possession. I thought you were going to come with something different in 2019. Be a little unpredictable.
Well, I try to get rid of you, but, you know,
it's not going to happen, I promise you.
But it's interesting. You have to pay respect where it's due. And Boehner traveling backwards, the ball's coming to him. It's very easy as a professional athlete to go, I can do this. You have so much confidence. So a lot of times you'll see guys try and take that ball down. he might not have been able to successfully take it down on his own, yet alone the defender pushing up on him. So it's a smart play. Just go back, reset. It's a lot of what we saw from Dequan Dakers a second ago. After the flick on Greg, the movements weren't there, and yeah, Indy reset themselves, but they're able to maintain possession of the ball.
Hackshaw again, broken up by Cicerone. A little bit of miscommunication with Bradley Camden-Fewoa, and Dane Kelly commits the foul. And Dane Kelly is a really interesting one. After his record-breaking season over at Reno in their inaugural season, Devin, I mean, a guy who won the Golden Boot, the MVP, gets his contract with DC United, but didn't see much time, was battling injuries, was actually bouncing back and forth with Richmond.
Got 2 appearances. I mean, you go out.
Bizarre.
It's weird.
Bizarre spell.
It makes no sense. You wonder what's going on behind closed doors, and not necessarily anything against Dane Kelly. It could have been what sort of philosophy would he put into? Was he butting heads with the manager? You never know what's going on.
Early in the season, DC United was struggling mightily, and before Wayne Rooney got there, I mean, it looked like another just totally lost season. Yeah. And then it became Wayne's World in the Capitol, and was able to get them to the postseason. But it's just one of those. It just leaves you scratching your head because he had such a great season. You thought that he might be able to just sort of continue that, but perhaps joining up with the likes of Ilya Illich and Thomasina Voltson would be a good fit.
What's interesting too is it's not just a one-off. I mean, he put together 8-9 goals season in 2016 for Swope Park Rangers, over 50 goals for the Battery in his 5 or 6 years that he was there. So he's not unaccustomed to this success. He's been able to get it done, and you push him into DC United, and again, obviously it just didn't work out there, but hey, Martin Rennie said, no problem, I'll be the benefactor of that.
Yep.
More than happy to scoop him up, and oh, by the way, have some fun with Illich and Voltson.
Hackshaw defending on Kadeem Dakers. Yet another FC Cincinnati guy. Dequa shielding off Carl Ouimet. Ina Voltson knocking it forward for Matt Watson. Watson towards the byline. More than heavy touch. The traveling Indy supporters wanted a foul, but most certainly not going to get one. Devin, early thoughts on Matt Watson drifting out to a wide position for Indy?
They're struggling. You can see if the St. Louis of old was in form as in the end of last season with all these new additions, they would be eating these wings up because you can see the transitional play lacking in execution from St. Louis, but the ability is there. Those channels are wide open, and that is all about Josh Penn on the left. You can see him tucking much further back, helping out against Hackshaw. Look at the top of your screen. Watson still struggling to get back. That could be an age thing because of his legs, but also it's a new philosophy. It's one game in. So it's easy to point and say, they could be exploited here. At the same point in time, it's a new system. They're getting used to it. So what we see now may be different in 30 minutes, yet alone 30 games, you know what I mean?
St. Louis with a good free kick opportunity now. Patty Barrett having a conversation with our head referee, Rosendo Mendoza. We should note that Indy 11 are without Ioze, who's probably one of the better wing backs in the USL Championship. This one brought down. Cicerone trying to get a touch to it. Still keeping it in play. Shouts for a penalty. And coming out the other direction. Looked like it was a handball on Cicerone, no?
Especially when he turned around. The Luligans aren't happy. You can hear him getting going in the corner. Felt like he went to ground. And that a whistle should have been blown. Hackshaw did a good job stepping in and then just bounced off his hand a bit. Indy more than happy to get things going and just push it out of there. Try and regroup.
St. Louis, here they come again. Won by St. Louis once more. Every 50-50 ball seems to go their way. Goes in for Dequa. Difficult to handle, and it falls for Josh Penn. Sam Fink had to get rid of it. Dane Kelly in hot pursuit. And Penn taken down from behind. I'll tell you what, if Ioze were to be in the starting 11, I would almost like to see Josh Penn on the right side and be able to cut in on his left foot and keep Ioze out in the left wing.
Yeah, at the same point in time, what about the two of them? You could even move the way things are running right now. What about moving Hackshaw into the midfield a little bit, letting him run rampant? We saw it at the Battery. Now, he didn't play a heavy offensive role, But the way things are going for Watson, and this is just speculation, again, we're having some fun, pushing him out on the right, letting him run rampant, that could be fun.
Here's Penn towards the back post, looking for Dane Kelly.
The overlapping tandem of Josh Penn and Iose. Sign me up. I'm in. I don't know, I'm a big advocate for the left footers on the left side. Iose. Well, Josh Suggs action out in New Mexico United. How about that?
They had some solid pickups. Let me tell you, Santi Moar, Kevon Frater, Chris Wehan.
Big names.
And Chris Wehan was another guy from that Reno team who...
Rookie of the Year.
Rookie of the Year.
Assist record at that point in time.
At that point in time. Then it was shattered by Manu Ledesma.
You got Ledesma.
Yeah.
That could be a good system for him, though. Troy Lesane comes in out of the Charlotte Independence.
Yep.
Assistant coach gets the nod, finally stepping up. Remember, he hasn't been a head coach since he was at the helm of Charleston.
But Mike Jeffries always had the utmost of praise for him.
He was given the reins a lot in practice.
Here's Cicerone from distance, takes a deflection. Kyle Gregg, off of his line is Evan Newton, and able to collect a couple of strange bounces as the sun is starting to peer through here in Fenton and shed some light on the Luligans over on the far side of Toyota. Evan Newton was one of the first signings that Indy 11 got done in the offseason. And what a relief that is for Martin Rennie and this Indy 11 club to be able to get one of the best keepers that this league has seen over the past couple of years. And of course, the reigning Golden Glove winner. Kenny Walker. Penetrating pass, Illich laying it off for Ina Voltson. This is the Indy 11 we expected to see. Matt Watson trying to cut it back and stood up by Bradley Camden-Fewo. Probably one of the more underrated 1v1 defenders.
Yeah, it didn't really pan out as it thought it would out in Fresno last year. Adam Smith's a good guy, but didn't necessarily fit the system. They had a lot of injury bugs as well, but right there, Watson needed to release the ball. They had great progression. That's what you wanted to see out of him. Nice ticky-tack type stuff, moving the ball down the field. Penn had a late run on the backside, but Watson has to release it.
How clever is this kid, Josh Penn? It doesn't matter if it's Matt Boehner or if it's Kadeem Dakers coming back. You know he's coming to his left foot. They just haven't been able to stop it.
He's big, too. He's very tall, and a lot of times you'll see flat-footed guys at that height, not necessarily explosive. That's not the case. Josh Penn once again choosing to go in a one-on-one situation. This is dangerous. You've seen him in the hand-holding method before, getting the right spacing. But this is the territory where Kenny Walker could have a go from this distance and really test Jake Fennelson. At the same point in time, could play something across. Another good look at the teenager going one-on-one. Like the confidence out of him.
Of course, Kenny Walker with that SportsCenter top 10 goal from about midfield against Ottawa last year up in Canada. That was honestly one of my favorite goals of the 2018 season. You can also throw Jason Johnson's ridiculous scissor kick in there as well, which did not win goal of the year for reasons I cannot and will not understand, as Walker's ball is way too close to Fennelson. And I think we're just seeing some week one cobwebs being shook off.
Yeah, it's poor from him, but definitely something different again. A couple minutes, a couple games, everything's going to start to loosen things up. You get rid of the rust. Expect more out of Kenny Walker in that situation.
Good ball forward from Lewis Hilton, finding Albert Dequa. Russell Cicerone with some work to do to keep it in play. Gets the work done. Kadeem Dakers, nice change of pace. And the header won by Carl Ouimet. As we have eclipsed the half-hour mark here in Fenton. Still 0-0 between Indy and St. Louis. Tyler Terrens along with Devin Kerr, opening weekend USL Championship 2019. As it's going to be offside. Anthony Pulis, as always, animated over on the touchline, but he said that one of the biggest things that he needs to get better at and learn as a coach, as of course he's always learning himself, was his emotions. And it was interesting to hear him be that candid, because we saw a number of times last year where he was more than fiery, as Albert Dequa is sizing up Neviel Hackshaw.
Coach definitely an emotional person. You can use that for yourself and against yourself as well, and he felt like a lot of times last year it did get the best of him. That maybe having a go at the boys just after a game, or not necessarily doing the referee any favors mid-match. He said, you know, I need to work on that and really try and control things. And it does help you remain more level-headed. Your decision-making is better. You process much better. That's what you need out of your manager.
Great first touch from Lewis Hilton, but Nina Voltson coming back for defensive responsibilities. Sam Fink distributing out to the back. Nabil Hakshaw got bailed out a little bit there after the deflection. Good step from Oscar Umar. Kyle Gregg stood up by Walker. And now here come Indy 11. Josh Penn wants to go with Boehner again. Penn peels it across, and nobody there for Indy 11. It actually looked like Dane Kelly slipped and was slow to get to his feet. And the foul goes against Indy 11 and a free kick for St. Louis. Fans, remember, Select is the official ball supplier of the USL Championship and many of the finest leagues in the world. Since 1947, Select has been the leader in soccer ball quality and innovation. For the latest Select products and special offers, please visit selectsportamerica.com. Cicerone, Deco in the box, peeled back, Kadeem Dakers just a tad behind him. I'll tell you what, good recovery from Kenny Walker. And it was very much the right look from Cicerone because I think Deco was probably beat to the near post.
Everything we've seen so far that has given up a half chance or a chance for St. Louis has definitely been from the wide play cutting in. Very stereotypical of the system that Anthony Pulis has put in place, but much more effective so far opening half here. Again, Kenny Walker, and that's the work ethic that Alan Koch brought last year, and he really praised him for his ability to push forward and back, gave you both looks as a midfielder. That's what you look for in this day and age.
Albert Deco is still looking for his footing. Meanwhile, Indy 11 trying to make the most out of it. Goes out wide for Josh Penn once more. Clips it in. Dane Kelly's there, but so is Fennelson. Run out of play. It should be a corner kick. Well, it sounds like from Anthony Pulis that one referee might have given a goal kick, and our head referee, Rosendo Mendoza, was pointing to the corner.
This is a corner.
That's the right call.
It's a corner.
It's
Yeah,
definitely the right
Josh
call.
Penn did a good job, got out in front of Sam Fink, and gave him a little nosh at the end. Some referees might have blown the whistle there, but I like the hard work. Gets a corner out of it.
Kenny Walker. Good ball in. Loose in front. And it comes to nothing in the end. Fennelson was caught in no man's land.
What's he doing here? The play before, he was worrying about the elbow, and you could see him almost stuck in his head a little bit, having a go at the referee. And he comes off his line here into traffic. 4 or 5 guys out in front of him. That's difficult ball, drifting away from you, trying to punch. And
would you stay on your line?
Stay on your line.
Really?
Allow them. Here's what has to happen. If you're coming to get that ball, you do not miss.
Well, that is
your fault.
Well, that's different than staying on your line. He misjudged the ball.
He's 6'7". You're a goalkeeper. Your job is to not misjudge the ball. You're
I
6-7 yards off your line. I tell him to stay. It's poor marking on the backside, though. Everybody's for St. Louis just standing, allowing Indy 11 to come in. Most of them 2-3 steps. You can't do that, especially not from a set-piece situation.
Dane Kelly looking to just post up on Sam Fink. Does extremely well to hold it off. Matt Watson keeps it in play. They wanted a handball there.
I can hear all the goalkeepers I played with growing up. Be quiet. I'm coming to get that ball. It's too far.
But you're saying that if he's going to come off his line, be sure that you're going to get there, which I agree with.
If you make a decision, you got to execute.
But the ball is at the 6. I think he has to come off. Just judge the ball better.
That ball was dropping just outside of the 6 on the far post.
Still needs to go and get it. I agree with you. St. Louis operating on the other end. Cicerone trying to work on Matt Watson. St. Louligans getting restless over there.
They're starting to funnel in, haven't they? I think everybody felt like you and I did. Maybe this match would have been postponed a bit because of the weather that we saw, but that front pushed its way through, and they are more than happy to make their voices heard.
Best supporter name in all USL Championship.
For you, the Luligans?
Yeah. Dequa sends it across. Hackshaw got a touch to it. Do you have something different?
I don't necessarily know off the top of my head. I think a few folks out west might have something to say to you about that.
They can say whatever they want. We're talking about the East Coast now. Talk to me in 2020 and St. Louis will be in the West.
There's a lot.
Matt Watson with Green to gallop into. Watson, a good lofted ball, and Fennelson this time makes sure of that one. That's what you want to see from your keeper.
Class. Quality from Indy Voltson on the way out to say my apologies. Kind of felt like he got him there a little bit, which he did. Well, that's much better. Even on the awkward landing, just outside the 6, but that's easier. You're not in traffic. You can step into the momentum of the ball. Much harder for the forward in that situation. But again, better decision making by Fennelson.
Neither keeper really truly tested in terms of the shot stopping department just yet. Three total shots for either team thus far. That actually includes block shots as well. So they're trying to find Josh Penn, and Kadeem Dakers can just shepherd it out of play. About 7 minutes remaining in this first half, including stoppage time, but I don't have a feeling there'll be too much of that. Well, and our producer Ryan Rose telling us that it's around 50 degrees now, and this is a far cry from what we saw about an hour before kickoff. Meanwhile, St. Louis FC with numbers moving the other way. Kadeem Dakers, positive first touch forward, working on Penn. Dakers made a mess of it. Actually hits off the scoreboard. And Dakers holding out to his face. Looked like he might have caught something after the fact. And that'll bring out Ryan Bounds, the athletic trainer for St. Louis.
How much better was this movement? Really like it in transition.
See ya.
Albert Dequa held the ball up, and that's difficult for Jordan Farr, not just at his age. You're tracking back 100 miles an hour, and then when the ball gets cut across, Josh Penn, excuse me, sorry about that. Josh Penn, as he steps across, ball gets cut behind you. You want to push the guy to the line, but it's so easy for him to change direction. Dakers does very well, but again, that fine tuning in the final third, really lacking again.
Looks like Kadeem Dakers will be able to continue. He's going to get checked on quickly. We're on the St. Louis touchline. And Kadeem Dakers, Devin, you know, went to a couple junior colleges before eventually going over to UMBC, who of course has, you know, probably one of the more underrated college soccer programs in the country. And he's done some good things in his career, and especially in this system, you would expect him to really start to thrive under Anthony Pulis and start to see maybe 5, 6, 7 goals a season with a few assists thrown in there as well.
He should be. He's got the speed to do it. He's a pretty decent soccer IQ, and for him, it's very linear in play, but there's nothing wrong with that. Play to your strengths, get the ball out in front of you like we just saw, and maybe one little quick movement here and there, and you're good to go. When the opportunities present themselves, you have to close things out. It's exactly what Pulis was talking about last year, where they got into these nitty-gritty fights of these 1-0 edging things out. You didn't really see them pull away from teams and blow them off the match, never. And that's kind of his style, but they've had 1 or 2 looks. This could be a 1 or 2-0 game.
Well, Dakers was actually somebody who Anthony Pulis had jumped off the page in terms of coming into preseason extremely fit. He had 2 goals and a 3-0 friendly win against Memphis. It's always interesting to hear what coaches have to say. Some coaches will sort of dodge the question. They don't want to single anybody out in terms of being overly impressive or not, but Anthony Pulis was quick to say that Kadeem Dakers was by far sort of the biggest pleasant surprise of the 2019 preseason. Back out onto the field wearing number 13 for St. Louis, who's in their blue and green. Here's Josh Penn in space. Getting it on that left foot. Good ball across. And one by Oscar Umar. Walker back for Penn. Hackshaw just trying to bully his way through, and a big collision between Boehner and Hackshaw. And now they're going to stop it.
I'm really surprised the referee doesn't, but he's late on this. He follows right through this on Boehner.
He's more than late.
Yeah. And to be very clear, all the referee has done is stopped play. He has not blown the whistle, not blown a foul. Hackshaw gets away with one here, trailing very late, gives the ball away, and watch his trailing foot right there. That's very lucky. You break someone's ankle like that. Unacceptable.
Is that a card in your mind?
He hasn't really done much else. If they show him the card, I'm not opposed to it. If they just blow a foul, I could get it.
That's tough to pull out of that, though.
No, you don't even go into it. You don't even put yourself, you stand up, because Boehner's already going to ground. So you stand up and you stand in front of it. All you do is put yourself in trouble by getting in a situation like that. Especially because, think about where he's coming from defensively. That ball goes over your head, you've got to immediately start tracking back. So you've put yourself in a bad position by, number one, not winning the ball, and number two, letting things track in behind you.
And Indy 11 were perplexed because it was just like you said, it wasn't a head injury, so there's not a ton of jurisdiction for the referee to just stop play. I mean, obviously he can do whatever he wants, but sort of a bizarre sequence of events. I mean, he can, can't he?
Sure, Anthony Pulis would have a few things to say about that, based upon the way things went down last year. Hoping his fortunes are a bit different.
This is Goose Fra by Anthony Pulis in 2019.
Yeah.
Tyler Gibson sort of put his hands up looking for an option, didn't see anything. Thomas Voltson saying that he wants the ball to come his way. It finds Josh Penn. Dakers' pass cut out by Hackshaw. Matt Watson now in his second season with Indy 11 after coming over from Phoenix Rising. Dane Kelly on the first touch, getting the better of Bradley Camden-Fewo. Watson again, driving towards the middle. Great sliding challenge, Oscar Umar. And we're being told we're going to have 3 minutes of stoppage time added on to this first half. Hilton careens one in for Kadeem Dakers. Thought it came off of Hackshaw's hand. Josh Penn stays down. Dakers. Just tried to poke it through. Now it's Patty Barrett, and Josh Penn seems to be in a significant amount of pain.
This was difficult to see, but you saw him slip a few moments ago, and a couple of guys have had some issues with the turf here. Maybe his body just got caught up underneath them, and that's, you have the bad weather, the water sitting, all of a sudden the sun comes out, the temperature raises a little bit. We've seen kind of fogginess, the dew point creeping up, that's going to cause that, but also the surface starts to become a little bit erratic. You can see the players struggling.
Our 3 minutes of stoppage time presented by Paycor. And again, Neville Hackshaw gets to it. Hackshaw, who had over 70 appearances with the Charleston Battery, had 1 goal last year. Actually came against the reigning back-to-back champions, Louisville City FC. Illich, a heavy touch. He has not looked himself in his first half with Indy 11. Who's up, who's down, where does your club sit? Find out every Monday in the official USL Championship Power Rankings, only on USLChampionship.com. Kyle Gregg up for the header. Sam Fink with a miscue. Dane Kelly wins the header. Ina Voltson trying to hold up play. It's gritty work from the Dane. Camden Fewo cleaned out by Dane Kelly.
You could see the fire in his eyes, a bit of retribution. He felt he was hard done just seconds before when he tracked back on that ball.
Dane Kelly's one of those guys, you can't just say his last name. He's a full name kind of guy.
Yeah.
You're similar in that regard, yeah.
Times.
Few syllables.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just enough to be problematic.
That's going to do it for the first half here in Fenton, Missouri, as St. Louis FC and Indy 11 on opening weekend of USL Championship season 2019. In a scoreless stalemate. Devin Kerr, your thoughts on the first 45 minutes?
You can definitely see the rust starting to come off from both squads, but a little bit problematic coming out of preseason, not necessarily themselves or the philosophy they put to paper. I like the stuff out of the teenager Josh Penn we've seen. Some good looks from the home squad. Hope it tightens up in the second half.
Two playoff teams from a year ago who are duking it out here at Toyota. St. Louis and Indy 11 scoreless as we head into halftime. Don't go anywhere.
A year ago, local soccer fans had a chance to celebrate.
And for the first time in club history, St. Louis FC are into the postseason.
Tickets for St. Louis FC on sale now. You can be a part of the action.
And might that just be the goal that sends St. Louis FC into the Western Conference playoffs?
There's season tickets, single game, group, and flex tickets. Something for everyone with St. Louis FC. Support your local team. stlouisfc.com.
The net is left open, and it's a goal for Kyle Gregg.
13 for Kyle Gregg, and if this game was in doubt, it is no longer in doubt. His 13th of the year.
I feel like a robot.
Turn, great shot, great finish. There's the opening goal. Kyle Gregg.
Hey, Kyle Gregg here. If you can come out Saturday and come support us, I think you'd have a good time and you won't regret it. Oh, okay.
Junior programs, basically, there's two sides of it. There's a rec side and there's a select side. And basically, it's for ages 2 to 12.
So you start off by doing a little bit of a warm-up.
It's a developmental, kind of want to introduce the players to the game and kind of all in a fun environment and create a positive experience.
Our staff is first class, our facilities first class, and it's really a first class program.
Welcome back to Toyota Stadium here in Fenton, Missouri. 0-0 between St. Louis FC and Indy 11 on opening weekend of the USL Championship. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr. And we have a nice little piece coming about the slick new St. Louis FC kits as we are moving through the Schlafly halftime show. Let's take a look.
Have you done a crossbar challenge before? First time?
Okay, go ahead. Okay.
The Hoops idea was just the idea of wanting to do something different this year. What I was wanting to do with it is get all of the colors of our crest in there. And so speaking of the new crest, different material this year can go a long ways in making a jersey even better. 4D as they call it. I think it brings still quite a bit to the kit itself. When mixing a bunch of colors, it can be difficult to get the elements of it right, but I think I did that with the green, the navy, the white sleeves. I think it really pops, and it's something different, especially being 5th year in the league. Again, giving the fans something they hadn't seen before. It's nothing revolutionary, but it's new to us.
And turn to the camera.
The floor's on the side, there's 5 on each side. 5 on one side representing the number of years that we've been in the league, and the other 5 representing the 5 pillars that are important to the club. That was another big reason for the white sleeves, is I think it helps pop and bring attention to the floors running up and down. As soon as that thought came into my mind, it was like, bam, all right, let's run them up the sleeves. That's where that came from. On the back, we have the St. Louis flag, which is something we've done since year 1, and I think it's just a simple way of paying homage to the city itself, our supporters who have been there since the beginning. Soccer's a huge deal here in St. Louis. Huge tradition, and so I think that's just kind of our way of paying homage to it. I'm Aaron Vega. I'm the kit man for St. Louis FC.
I'll tell you what, those are some slick looking jerseys. Devin, the off color on the shoulder, like the sleeves.
Quality.
Dig that.
Respect
Phoenix
that.
Rising have that going on with their home kits over in the Western Conference as we're moving through the Schlafly halftime show. The score has not changed since Rosendo Mendoza has blown the halftime whistle. It is still 0-0 between St. Louis FC and Indy 11. We're hoping all that's going to change, and we'll get you some goals in the second half. We'll step aside, and we'll take a look at some new pieces from the USL Championship.
What does it take to be a champion? Skill, strength, vision, an unrelenting desire to prove your worth week in, week out. An army of fans behind you screaming your name. And sometimes just a bit of luck. For 631 games over the course of the next 9 months, 22 players will step on the field to answer the question, why will it be you and not them? And the 36 teams, from the champions of yesterday to the challengers of tomorrow, only one will be right.
What a year to look forward to, 2019, the launch of League One. Of course, the rebranding USL Championship well underway now as we had the Tacoma Defiance get their first win last night in the first game of the 2019 season. St. Louis FC and Indy 11 0-0 here in Fenton, Missouri. Again, Tyler Terrence along with ex-German pro Devin Kerr. We'll take a look at what's been going on around the USL, and not a whole lot to talk about from a results standpoint just yet, but Devin, in terms of news and notes, I mean, you have Louisville City going after what would be a third consecutive USL championship, and they're almost at the level of the Patriots where you can go into a season and say, well, they don't have the talent, but it's sort of just plug and play, and they'll just end up there at the end of the season.
I'll tell you what, former interim manager for the United States men's national team, Dave Sarachan, will have something to say about that as the champs go on the road to start their season. 4 o'clock today, that'll be a fun one. How about all the expansion clubs? Birmingham, Hartford, we already mentioned New Mexico United, but the Locomotives, El Paso, Omar Salgado jumping out there. It'll be interesting to see him transition from the Las Vegas Lights into El Paso, what he's able to do there. Tim Howard, his ownership group, Memphis 901, they're coming for you.
Absolutely, and St. Louis FC, as we mentioned before, conference shift, but the one that was sort of underlying was Swope Park Rangers, who are now moving over to the East, just making the Eastern Conference that much more difficult. And full time with New York Rebels, too, and Swope Park Rangers as it's 3-1. And with that, we'll take a look at some other scores and games that are going to be going on throughout this week. Devin, I could probably guess what you're most interested to see, but I want to hear it from you first.
That Birmingham-Bethlehem game, to be honest. I'd be interested. I want to see what we're going to see out of the Rowdies and the Riverhounds this year.
What about the fighting White Pumas?
The White Puma is back. Jimmy Nielsen back in full effect. If you haven't had the opportunity to meet that fine gentleman, do it. He is awesome. And obviously Charleston Battery, what could go on there? Mike Jeffries stepping down. Now the general manager.
Stepping up.
All right, stepping up? Sideways.
Lateral move.
Whatever. I'm directionally impaired. Charlotte Independence, now the GM. In steps Alan Guinness and what he can do. But the Rowdies really struggling on the road this year. Last year. What is Neil Collins going to do with his squad?
And here's a look at the scoreboard. We told you before, New York Rebels 2, Tom Barlow getting it done. What else is new? These are all Eastern Standard Time as North Carolina FC and Louisville City. Can I get a scoreline prediction from you?
3-0 Louisville.
Wow.
Yeah, I see.
Tell me how you really feel.
The champs on the road. I just don't see them backing off whatsoever. Let's talk about Nashville and their philosophy. Defensively, Gary Smith, they are defensive-minded, but oh, so what? We didn't really get it done offensively last year. We have Lebo Maloto. Let's go get Daniel Rios. Who is that guy? Dropped 20-something goals. Oh, Cameron Lancaster. Carlton Belmar. What else?
Okay, good.
Okay, good.
Oh,
look a fly.
Who had the better offseason quickly, Indy or Nashville?
Indy. Offensively, Nashville did well, but I just don't see that clicking. I don't see them making a push for the championship at all.
All right, fair enough. We have first half highlights, stats, and of course, the resumption of this game between St. Louis FC and Indy 11 when we come back. Don't go anywhere.
Soccer fans had a chance to celebrate.
And for the first time in club history, St. Louis FC are into the postseason.
Tickets for St. Louis FC on sale now. You can be a part of the action.
And might that just be the goal that sends St. Louis FC into the Western Conference playoffs?
There's season tickets, single game, group, and flex tickets. Something for everyone with St. Louis FC. Support your local team. stlouisfc.com.
The net is left open, and it's a goal for Kyle Gregg.
13 for Kyle Gregg, and if this game was in doubt, it is no longer in doubt. His 13th of the year.
I feel like a robot.
Turn, great shot, great finish. There's the opening goal. Kyle Gregg.
Hey, Kyle Gregg here. If you can come out Saturday and come support us, I think you'd have a good time and you won't regret it. Oh, okay.
St. Louis, the birthplace of soccer in the United States. 5 St. Louis natives on the 1950 World Cup team.
St. Louis FC with 3 absolutely monumental points in the bag.
Support your local team. The nation is watching. Tickets for St. Louis FC on sale now. Get yours at stlouisfc.com.
Left open, and it's a goal for Kyle Gregg.
13 for Kyle Gregg, and if this game was in doubt, it is no longer in doubt. His 13th of the year.
I feel like a robot.
Turn, great shot, great finish. There's the opening goal. Kyle Gregg.
Hey, Kyle Gregg here. If you can come out Saturday and come support us, I think you'd have a good time and you won't regret it. Oh, okay.
St. Louis could certainly use a little Kyle Gregg magic at the moment. 0-0 against Indy 11 here in Fenton, Missouri, as the Luligans and St. Louis FC fans having themselves a grand old time. Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr. If you're just tuning in, we'll help you out with some first half highlights. Devin, not a ton to write home about in the first 45 minutes, but first 10 minutes it was all St. Louis.
Not much from the middle of the field offensively, but we did see Lewis Hilton progress up one or two times. Oscar Umar more than happy to sit a bit deeper. I like what we saw on the near touchline. Fun battle developing between Kadeem Dakers, Josh Penn. Again, young 18-year-old committed to Indiana. Like his ability to really go in one-on-one situations. Matt Boehner, buddy, what are you doing? It continued down, though. I mean, how many times did we see him over and over and over again continuously push the envelope to go one-on-one? Then St. Louis started to counteract a little bit. This is in the 26th minute. This is Kyle Gregg when he gets down to the byline. And was it a penalty? Not for me, not for my money. Gregg plays it across, off Fink. Cicerone drops in behind. He wanted a foul. Absolutely not. Goes to the ground, hits his hand. Referee rightfully points the other direction. Right about there, Indy caught some momentum. You saw them started to play a little bit. Indy Volson starting to move the ball around, but really lacking what we thought we were going to see out of those three up top. The trio that was Kelly, Illich, and Indy Volson really didn't progress into anything beautiful whatsoever.
Who's been the most disappointing of those three for you in the first half?
Definitely Dane Kelly. 100% Dane Kelly. Indy Volson, you've at least seen him trying to move into different areas. He can't find the spaces. Illich has helped out on the defensive side of the ball, but you can see the ball as they're pushing from the back going forward. A lot down on the left-hand side. Matt Watson struggled, but because there's not an ebb and flow evenly on both sides of the field, Dane Kelly is having trouble finding what we've seen him do in the past, all those spaces in behind to run rampant.
Second half officially underway from Toyota. Again, I'm Tyler Terrence. He's the former German pro, Devin Kerr. Thank you so much for tuning in to opening weekend of the USL Championship season here in 2019. If you're Anthony Pulis and St. Louis, I don't want to say you're happy with the first half. You content with the way that things played out?
You're fine. You can build on it. It's a home match. You have the opportunity to build some momentum here. The biggest thing is that you want to make sure you're not giving up a goal. He likes to keep the clean sheet. That's a big thing for him. He would much rather go in a 0-0 draw than get into a shootout and battle out at 3-3. Does he feel like they didn't necessarily get the job done? So keep that 0 first and foremost. And I really liked what we saw again out of Kadeem Dakers on the right. Can you now counteract it? Bring it full circle and get the left-hand side of Russell Cicerone involved.
Matt Watson gives it away. Lewis Hilton still had some work to do, and eventually cleaned up by Fanuel Kavita. You can hear Anthony Pulis encouraging Kyle Gregg to just hunt the ball and try to squeeze Indy 11 out of this possession as Neville Hackshaw taking the space given to him. Now it's Josh Penn who had a solid opening 45 minutes of his professional career. Just over the head of Dane Kelly, and St. Louis will have a deep throw in their own defensive third. For Josh Penn, we saw a number of different times in the first half where he had some good moments, and then there were other moments where maybe the delivery was a bit too quick. It was the wrong type of delivery, but all things that you're going to learn in your professional debut.
It's decision-making, and rightfully so. You would expect it at that age, 18 years of age, waiting to go to college, getting some professional reps, but much more positive than negative. Again, one-on-one, we already talked about that, but his ability to read and hold up the game, I liked that a lot. A lot of times you saw him push down in, not necessarily needing to go to goal, stepped on it, brought it back. And how about defensively? That one time Sam Fink on the byline pushed him right over the shoulder, was not afraid to use some of that big frame that he's got a corner out of it.
It's amazing to see the youth just continue to have so much success in the USL Championship. I mean, you talk about Phoenix Rising FC, who signed their first ever academy product, and Brendan Keniston, who Rick Schatz thinks is going to be an absolute star in a couple of years. I mean, Swope Park Rangers, just signed a whole new class of youngsters that are coming to replace the likes of Buzio and Felipe Hernandez, who actually had a goal today. Is this ball good across, and Dane Kelly rocks one off the post. Best chance of the afternoon so far. And it comes from the 2017 Golden Boot and MVP winner, Dane Kelly.
better stuff, wasn't it? Visitors trying to get things going in the early moments. Guess what? New addition, not Josh Penn. I have no problem. Matt Boehner has his hands full out there. That has to be with Sam Fink as well. Sam has to communicate a bit more to his outside back who's struggling versus the youngster. Dane Kelly crashing the party on the near coast. Much better trying to find that space.
Well, the biggest thing that Alan Koch said about Matt Boehner when he was at FC Cincinnati was that the 1v1 defending could probably improve a little bit. And Boehner's is more in that realm of modern outside back where he's more offensive minded. He wants to go forward, but it's the initial part, and as a defender you need to take it seriously. But you know, playing in sort of that wing back role in this 3-back system for Martin Rennie, the defending is lacking a little bit for Matt Boehner, but obviously dealing with a very quick and talented Josh Penn as Ilya Ilic is trying to keep it in play and win something. And it stays in play and prevents the goal kick.
With all due respect to Kadeem Dakers, he's not necessarily doing him any favors on that right-hand side either. They're toying with fire where they're pushing such a high line, and you see the aggressiveness. So when Kadeem Dakers goes in transition the other way, he's leaving Boehner out to dry a little bit. But again, if you have the right communication there, you have Boehner push up a little bit, you can get tighter on Josh Penn. Sam Fink just has to shift over. You've seen that lacking. He needs to talk a little bit more.
Kenny Walker settles it. Tyler Gibson on the turn. Hackshaw moving forward now. Here's Josh Penn once more. Nice little 1-2. Ina Voltsen's shot ends up getting stuffed in the end by Oscar Umar. And tonight's match is presented by Schlafly. As Indy 11 with a deep throw in right in front of the Hooligans. Kelly. Patty Barrett moving forward. Good challenge again from Oscar Umar, who's really disrupting the rhythm of Indy 11. Here's Kadeem Dakers for St. Louis. Keeps it low, and straight to the feet of Neviel Hackshaw. Long ball ahead, Russell Cicerone. Getting on the better side of Matt Watson. Watson very experienced and ends up winning the ball back, but Cicerone, great hustle. Russell Cicerone, surely now! Sends it over the bar. Terrific hustle from the University of Buffalo product.
How nonchalant was this from Carl Ouimet trying to play out of the back? Got to pick your head up, gets caught. Ball watching just a bit. Matt Watson plays the ball across. Clear it. Get it off the line. You've got two guys pushing into you. Cicerone picks the pocket. But again, how many times are we going to have to say it? Lean over the ball, put it on frame, do something. Too many opportunities for the home squad so far. They should be ahead.
Kadeem Dakers working on Ilya Ilic. And Dakers is fouled. And look at the Battleborn Brigade up in arms. Good play from Dakers.
Kenny Walker's going to have something to say about that. Not really sure how that wasn't a foul in the middle of the pitch, but then again, I guess I haven't always agreed with every referee.
It's putting it
very politely. Check, please.
So a makeshift corner of sorts for St. Louis. Lewis Hilton on top of it. Hilton, great ball in. And Fanuel Kavita was just on the wrong side of Ilya Illich, who did well to get in front of him. And a corner coming up for St. Louis. And Evan Newton is able to collect. Good work here from Indy 11. Illich, cumbersome touch. And cleared out the other way, and Rosendo Mendoza is going to bring that one all the way back as he was playing advantage. Good flick on header from Greg. Albert Dequa trying to get on the better side of Hackshaw. A late whistle, but a whistle nonetheless from Rosendo Mendoza. And mustard for Neville Hackshaw here in the 57th minute. And this is a mighty good-looking set piece in prime real estate for Lewis Hilton.
Finally got away with one earlier, Neville Hackshaw on his challenge, and Matt Boehner. The referee let it play this time around. Good stuff by Albert Dequa, really holding up the play today. Unfortunately, hasn't really had anybody running off of him, but Hackshaw coming over, dangerous opportunity. And we saw Lewis Hilton in the first half try to float one to the back post. He has the near chance here, if he wanted to. Try and pick the pocket, really test Evan Newton and put something at that near post. At the same point in time, there are some big boys that can run onto this ball, and the likes of Sam Fink and Fanuel Kavita.
This is going to be with a lot of pace from Hilton. Here it comes, floated towards the back post. He's trying to pull a little Ajax Real Madrid Champions League free kick there.
Don't mind it, not a bad idea. It's the easier route to go for sure, but a lot of times simplistic makes it a little bit more difficult for the goalkeeper because he's guessing. He's waiting for the ball to be played to the back post and not necessarily covering the shot himself.
Cicerone is drilled after he's really given Carl Ouimet all that he can handle. And you have to imagine this is going to be on frame from Lewis Hilton. That's the second time that Ouimet has been more than casual coming out of the back.
Hit this one. Look at this. 23 yards.
23 and a half.
23.9. I mean, I'm guessing.
Spitballing.
Had the opportunity to chat with Hilton before, and I said, hey, do me a favor. You hit a couple bangers last year. Line one up. We like seeing you have goes. A lot of times he's unselfish and elects to play it to someone else, but this is prime real estate to have a go with Evan Newton.
Hilton! We'll ignore the cheering coming from the St. Louligans end. And of course, the Battleborn Brigade are going to give them a tough time about it across the way here at Toyota Stadium. It was on the wrong side of the post, but I'll tell you what, for his first dead ball hit of 2019, it's not too far off.
Not half bad, right? He has a beat if he puts it on frame. Evan Newton is late getting there. You see his first step actually goes left. He's expecting.
Here's Dane Kelly the other way. And they gave a penalty. Dane Kelly wins Indy 11 a penalty in the 59th minute. Accidental goal celebrations at one end. And Indy 11 have a chance to take the lead here right before the hour mark. More than controversial here in Fenton. Devin, what say you?
Yeah, both Kavita and Feo cannot believe this. They feel like this is the wrong decision. You're going to get a much better look as this ball gets played over. That's the space we're talking about. Sam Fink has shifted over to one side. This is a much better look. That's penalty. Takes him down from behind. The question is it 100% inside the box? That was real close to the top. Does not get any of the ball, takes the attacker down, still progressing towards goal, point to the spot.
It'll be Dane Kelly. Saved by Fettelson! St. Louligans are jumping now. Still work to do for St. Louis defensively. Here's Hackshaw! And moments after Jake Fettelson denies Dane Kelly, Neville Hackshaw gets Indy 11 off and running in the 2019 USL Championship. It's 1-0 in the 61st to the visitors.
Bit quieter now, isn't it, after that save? Woo! Dane Kelly gets a little lackadaisical in his efforts here. Watch his hips. He closes them almost immediately. Makes it much easier for the goalkeeper to predict where he's going. Right across his body. Closed foot, you can see it coming. Fenelson reads it. It's still
a great save.
Still a fantastic save. St. Louis doesn't figure it out. Sam Fink was part of the problem on the penalty. Does not mark on the back post. Neville Hackshaw and everything that went on for the Charleston Battery. Mike Anhauser, first goal of the season, second goal of his career. Couldn't have come at a better time.
And with all of the offensive talent that Martin Rennie and Indy 11 were able to go get in the offseason, their first goal of 2019 comes by way of Neville Hackshaw.
Indy 11 goal scored by number 15, Neville Hackshaw. Assist to number 19, Kenny Walker. In the 61st minute.
Faywo. Dakers has space. Never intriguing Evan Newton. And it looks like we're going to get at least one substitution. And it's going to be Joaquin Rivas coming out here in the 63rd, one of the two Tulsa boys who came over during the offseason. And Joaquin Rivas is going to replace Kadeem Dakers here in the 63rd. Substitution is brought to you by Cigna. Devin, our thoughts on Kadeem Dakers' performance this afternoon?
Not a bad first shift for him for sure. And again, it's kind of fine-tuning what you're going to have on that right side. We saw defensively struggling to get back and help out Matt Boehner, but offensively really liked the explosion we saw out of him. Couldn't get on the end of any of his crosses, but created a lot of space for himself.
Dikwa with good hustle. Cicerone back for Dikwa. That's a really bad challenge. Devin Kearse motioning for a card. Patty Barrett saying he got the ball. It'll be a free kick right on the edge of the penalty area. Martin Rennie is dropped to the level of the referee, making his case. Lot to sort out here for the referee. It looks like cards are going to stay in the pocket. Or will they? Mustard for Patty Barrett. So it looks like he's pointing in a direction that Indy 11 is going to get the free kick. Was it offside and then a late challenge?
I'm going to need to step up and start going to these referee classes because he does track back. I mean, that's definitely a yellow card. 2-foots him, doesn't get the ball. That's not the ball. Sorry, Patty. But he came from an offside position, so they blow the flag, didn't hear the whistle, continues play, issues him a yellow card. Perplexed is the best word to use at this point in time.
By the referee, Indy 11, number 29, Patty Barrett.
Did you hear a whistle?
No.
So how can Patty Barrett be expected to hear a whistle?
You got some slack now.
I've had selective hearing for a long period of time now, so probably the wrong.
Is that when you're talking to me, or is it?
Would you say something?
Lewis Hilton asking a lot of legwork out of Rivas, who just came on as a substitute. Give some really good years to the Tulsa Roughnecks, including their rags to riches story from 2016 to 2017, going from the bottom of the Western Conference barrel to making a playoff appearance and really taking San Antonio FC right to the last in the 2017 USL Cup postseason. The ball whipped across is way too much on it, and a goal kick coming for Evan Newton. But it has been a good response from St. Louis after giving up the goal.
That 4 minutes have gone by so far, immediately pushing the pace, trying to get higher up on the pitch. That's what you've seen here in the second half so far. You can see the line that St. Louis carried in the first half that was so high, causing the press on the defensive side of things some problems for Martin Rennie and Indy 11. Hasn't really funneled over here into the second 45. They're trying to counteract that now. It's got to carry it on for a bit longer if they want to get back in this match.
Sam Fink with good defensive work to win it back. Josh Penn. Ina Voltson dropping in deep to receive it. And switches the point of attack for Matt Watson. Goals do change games. And Indy 11 playing with some swagger now. Possessing in St. Louis's half. Good ball in for Josh Penn. Illich wanted to link up. It's back for Gibson. He's going to have a go. But it's into the practice fields. Fans follow St. Louis and the rest of the USL Championship all season long on ESPN Plus, home to the USL, MLS, UFC, and more. Join the over 2 million sports fans who have already discovered ESPN Plus and watch the championship live every week. Sign up today at espnplus.com. Dequa on the turn. Patty Barrett trying to recover. Ball across. Hackshaw got a touch to it. And a corner coming up for St. Louis. I'll tell you what, that's great back-to-goal play from Albert Dequa.
It's not just a good turn. How about the acceleration once he makes the spin? Because the turn is probably semi-good at best, but it's the push and then watch the wheels. Gets right by Barrett, gets it across. Well done by Hackshaw tracking back. He had Kyle Gregg trailing right at the top of the six.
Corner coming from Electro Savings and Lewis Hilton. Loose in the box, what a finish! St. Louis equalize! Then it's the veteran Fanuel Kavita. The St. Louis have their goal.
How about the string of events? Just after the nice explosion right at the top and the good turn, Kyle Gregg can't get on the end of it. Ball makes its way out to the corner. And as Lewis Hilton serves this in, there's almost confusion by the Indy back line. Time sort of stands still. It's Dane Kelly, misses the challenge about 8 yards out, just to the right of the penalty mark. And the big center back, Fanuel Kavita. Who would have thunk it? 69th minute, equalizes. Game on.
That goal was delivered by Fanuel Kavita, and dominoes for St. Louis FC. 2019, the year of the scoring center back. Exactly what Devin Kerr wanted. He laced that, didn't he?
9 times out of 10. That's
your hands went up.
Fifth row.
Yeah,
that's in fifth row for sure. Those are the scorchers you score in training. Like, oh, I'll get my chance one day. One day has arrived.
One day. During the celebration, Caleb Calvert coming on and replacing Albert Dequa. And Calvert, a guy who, Devin, you and I had the chance to see him a lot last year and over the past couple of years. And he's had some good moments and some not so good moments for the Charlotte Independents, but I think a fresh start here in St. Louis is exactly what he needs.
This is the 1-2 punch that I really thought Pulis would have led with this afternoon. Caleb Calvert, very tall, still only 22 years of age, came through that Chivas system and was made a homegrown before the now defunct squad departed. And Colorado Rapids were happy to scoop him up, but again, like you said, very wishy-washy in his performances, up and down. Great hold-up player, and I think that'll benefit for Kyle Gregg. Those long balls that are played in, he can lay it down, then let players run in behind him. We've seen the speed so far. Now the execution of the big, tall guy up top. What's he made of?
That substitution, Caleb Calvert for Albert Dequa, is brought to you by Cigna. You mentioned Caleb Calvert, who was the actual youngest signing in Chivas USA history before they folded. Spent 3 years with the Charlotte Independents on loan from 2015 to 2018 in their what is also now defunct partnership with the Colorado Rapids, who have now paired up with Colorado Springs Switchbacks FC. Dane Kelly on the turn, taken down by Sam Fink, and Fink is going to be shown a yellow card here in the 72nd.
Anthony Pulis is furious on this near touchline, and he's got a good case. 2-footed throw in, both feet off the ground. It's a foul. Linesman not paying attention as he's continuing the run of play. And Sam Fink, eventually, you know, that was going to happen. He's still going on. This is the emotion we talked about. His team needs him. You've crawled back into this game. Took about 9 minutes to get the equalizer. They've done so right here, and Sam Fink goes into the book. We saw him on the penalty a few minutes after that. This time, can't keep up with Dane Kelly. Ends up in the book.
And on that slow-mo replay, and our replay operator, Jose Bueso, doing an excellent job, as always, along with our director, Gage Tillotson. But it didn't really look like Sam Fink got a full piece of Dane Kelly there.
Just enough.
He stuck his foot out, but...
That's the excuse that I used.
Yeah.
I didn't even kick him that hard. I barely got him.
You still kicked him. Tyler Pasher coming on and replacing Ilya Illich. So Illich's debut with Indy 11 comes to an end after about 70 minutes of hard work. Kenny Walker on top of the set piece for Martin Rennie. And dealt with nicely, but they're asking for play to be stopped as an apparent head injury for a St. Louis player. Fennelson was off his line extremely quickly. And it's Camden Fewo who's a little shaken up. And he might have caught in a cleat from one of his own teammates.
Coming across on the clearance, just catches a boot, and you wonder, with the addition of Tyler Pasher, Illich was playing in that central midfielder role. We'll get to that in a sec. Another look. Walker serves it in. Yeah, 100%. Just takes the boot right across the face.
It's Oscar Umar.
Oh, that is Oscar Umar. Holding midfielder, stepping back, trying to help out. Both guys going for it. Good win. And you wonder, would they bring Tyler Pasher on? We've seen him out on the wings most of the time. Illich was playing centrally. Do you then tuck Matt Watson in or let Kenny Walker push up a little bit and then put some fresh legs out on the outside? Again, Cicerone hasn't really been that active against Matt Watson. We've seen more, or had seen more, I should say, out of Kadeem Dakers on the right, and now Joaquin Rivas.
Camden Faywell is a warrior. '24-year-old from Paris. 20 appearances, no goals with Fresno in 2018 in their inaugural season, the Foxes. It's a UNLV running Rebel product from 2013 to 2015. And of course spent some years under the tutelage of the offensive mastermind, Bob Lilly, in the Rochester Rhinos. Did I say offensive? Sorry.
He heard you.
Here's Rivas the other way. Joaquin Rivas towards the back post. It was a teasing ball, and Evan Newton decided to stay home. But more good ideas being churned out by the St. Louis FC attacking three.
That's where he's at his best, running at players, smart to look up, and had both Greg and Cicerone on the back post. Just crossed over, runs a bit there. St. Louis not backing down from this challenge.
Given away in the middle of the park, right to the feet of Lewis Hilton. Here's Joaquin Rivas. Nice little 1-2, Rivas. Try to whip it back across, it'll fall right to him. Oscar Umar, deflected in front. Kyle Gregg is there, still loose. Surely now, and it's in for St. Louis. Russell Cicerone. It's another broken play goal for St. Louis FC, but they're not gonna mind here at Toyota. 2-1 in the 77th.
I can promise you, the first thing that Martin Rennie addresses after this game, win, lose, or draw, is going to be the clearances or lack thereof. First one on the strike from Fanuel Cavita was Dane Kelly. This time, keep an eye on Patty Barrett as this ball makes its way through. First one on the ground, can't get away, and then Carl Ouimet once again. So many times, terrible decision-making in this game. He cannot get it off the line again. Evan Newton has to track back across. Russell Cicerone in the 77th minute answers every question that has been asked of him so far, as the new addition has gotten his first goal for St. Louis FC.
That goal delivered to you by Russell Cicerone and dominoes for St. Louis FC. Joaquin Rivas has certainly made an impact since coming on. You can make the argument that he was, at the very least, a part orchestrator of that Cicerone goal. Took a fortuitous bounce and actually had a crazy amount of backspin on it that fell for Rivas, and then he was able to pull it back for Umar, and then madness ensued. But Russell Cicerone will happily take the madness and find the back of the net for the first time in the St. Louis FC green and blue. Is this a deserved 2-1 lead for St. Louis?
Based upon the chances they've had and squandered, for sure. You saw the momentum shifting to the away squad, especially after the goal. the big PK save that Fennelson made, and then Hackshaw on the back post. But it only took about 3 or 4 minutes, and you saw Anthony Pulis and his boys, that they had their heads down, but they picked them up. It's been high tempo for them ever since, creating wave after wave of attack. No response from the visitors.
I think Kelly almost had an opportunity. Walker clips it in. One by Fink. And Lewis Hilton taken down from behind by Tyler Gibson.
There's a good look at the man, Lewis Hilton. Doing double duty.
The Brickyard Battalion for Indy 11 trying to do their best over on the far side of Toyota, as Starikoff is going to come on here in the 80th minute, maybe inject some offensive life into this Indy 11 attack. And Josh Penn's professional debut will come to an end here in the 80th minute, but I'll tell you what, bright future for the Indiana University commit.
Head high, solid 80 minutes, good shift for that young man. Quite surprised that the substitutions that we've seen out of Martin Rennie's squad with Eugene Starkov and Tyler Pasher, to be honest, that they didn't come earlier. I expected some fresh legs for both Josh Penn and Matt Watson to come in. That wasn't the case. Penn going almost the distance, 80 minutes, and Matt Watson still on the pitch, out there on the right.
Ball in from Pasher over everybody's head, and you can see the frustrated looks on the faces and the apparent body language of the Indy 11 strikers, particularly Thomasina Voltson, who really has not gotten the type of delivery and the ball at his feet the amount of times that he would like to today. Could hear rumblings of that conversation between Anthony Pulis and Russell Cicerone. Carl, we met towards the back post. Contact. No call. Sliding challenge is an excellent one. I have a feeling we'll see a lot of Indy 11 attack and St. Louis on their heels for the next 10 minutes or so. Starikov on the turn. Delivery handled by Kavita. Encouraging signs from Indy 11 in the final 10 minutes or so. We're being told that Austin Martz is getting set to come on and replace Kyle Gregg at the next chance. Whipped in. Miscommunication. Starikov wins it. Back out for Hackshaw. Walker back into the mixer. Not the delivery we're used to seeing from Kenny Walker. And a goal kick coming for Pendleton.
Anthony Pulis making the most defensive-minded substitution in his mind that he can make with the tools of his trade. Doesn't want to totally pack it in, but Kyle Gregg's day will be done. Big Caleb Calvert still up top, and expect Rivas to tuck in a little bit, hold down some of the central part of the midfield to not allow Indy 11 to try and explode and push Austin Martz to the outside. Fresh legs to continuously challenge what's going on. Remember, you move Martz out to the right side. He's now challenging the likes of Eugene Starikov and Pasher, who have been floating around a bit. That's a pretty interesting matchup.
And the substitution brought to you by Cigna. As Kyle Gregg will slowly make his way off the field here in Fenton, and Austin Martz, another one of those Anthony Pulis products who followed him from OCB, will come onto the scene here in the 84th, and certainly a nice little energizer bunny to bring on late in the game. Thoughts on Kyle Gregg's opening game of 2019?
My initial response would be that it was too quiet, but from a scouting standpoint as a coach, you're immediately going to look to him. Anthony Pulis had the opportunity for the likes of Kadeem Dakers. Now Austin Martz is coming on, freed up space for Cicerone as well, and Joaquin Rivas. So though Gregg maybe necessarily isn't going to show up on the score line, he drew defenders towards him. How many times did we see him floating around in the middle? Barrett, Ouimet, and had the opportunity with other space around him. So not necessarily any goals or assists, still a job well done.
Step from Starikov, and Lewis Hilton will just punch it down deep in Indy 11 territory, right in front of the Brickyard Battalion and the traveling Indy 11 supporters. It's about a 4-hour drive from Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis to Fenton, Missouri. Initial ball handled by Sam Fink. Here's Gibson on seconds. Enevoldsen. Pasher knocks it across, and a sliding challenge from Fink. Tell you what, that ball from Enevoldsen was special in a tight area.
As silky smooth as the Dane is, I thought he was going to pull the trigger. It was lined up for him, but sweet little ball to the back post, an even better one played across. Visitors finding some movements.
Walker on another corner for Indy 11. Time running out for the visitors. Fennelson off of his line and claims it. And a little bit too much on it for Austin Martz. And we'll take another look at that opportunity for Indy 11 a few moments ago.
How sweet it is to be loved by Thomas Enevoldsen. Jeez. The guy can put the ball anywhere, just drop it on a dime. How many times did we see it last year for Orange County with the likes of Aiden Quinn, Michael Seaton running around? Tell you what, they can start moving things together. Dane Kelly wasn't the best from Illich, was it? First half movement on the defensive side, but never really got going offensively to help explode. We've seen things getting better for Enevoldsen and Dane Kelly, but Illich just really never got it going.
You said that Dane Kelly was probably the least impressive of the three
in the first half.
In the first half, I probably would have said Ilya Illich.
Fair enough. That's just the defensive side.
Defensive side, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just Dane Kelly, we don't play defense.
No.
Halfway line.
When you can score that many goals, why play defense?
I don't go beyond the halfway line, yeah.
And Anthony Pulis putting two hands up and saying, slow down, we're winning. It's 2-1, week 1, 88th minute. We are in no rush. Starikov. Patty Barrett now. Kenny Walker, good ball forward. Pasher towards the byline, squaring it back. Starikoff had it blocked by Sam Fink, in a corner for Indy 11 now. And the St. Louligans making Kenny Walker feel right at home. Gets all the way through. Oscar Umar trying to prevent the corner. And he's able to do so. Here's Austin Martz now. Look at the speed from Martz, trying to get around Hackshaw. Austin Martz with fresh legs. Drags it all the way to the corner. Wise play, but stripped away by Matt Watson. "34-year-old knocks it up the field. Pasher again. He's been lively since coming on, working on Boehner. But an extremely heavy touch from Pasher, and a goal kick coming for Jake Fendelson. Who's up, who's down, where's your club sit? Find out every Monday in the official USL Championship Power Rankings, only on USLChampionship.com. And we're being told we'll have 3 minutes of stoppage time. And stoppage time brought to you by Paycor. I do want to apologize for an earlier error, referred to the Indy 11 as the Battleborn Brigade, but that is the Reno 1868 support group. It's the Brickyard Battalion that has found a nice little spot of Toyota Stadium. Ina Voltson, handled by Sam Fink yet again. Halfway through the minimum of 3 minutes. Dangerous set piece now for Indy. Pasher on top of the ball in his second season with Indy 11 after coming over from Swope Park Rangers. Pasher. Great ball in. And again, St. Louis FC handle it more than appropriately. And look at Austin Martz going the other way again. Trying to get around Matt Watson, but that is a tall task against the 34-year-old from Redditch, England, who's got more than a few years of football experience under his belt. And the foul called against St. Louis, as we are nearing the end of this one. As it stands, St. Louis FC coming up with a very impressive 3 points against a stacked Indy 11 roster in week 1 of the USL Championship. Ball loose in front. Dane Kelly was winding up for it. And look at Evan Newton. Knocks it in towards Ina Voltson. Starikoff. Back for the Dane. Fanuel Kavita, the clearance. We've eclipsed the 3 minutes. St. Louis fans begging for a final whistle. One more chance left for Indy 11. Cleared away Full time, St. Louis FC victors in week 1. They take down Indy 11 by a score of 2-1. It's the first win for Anthony Pulis in the 2019 USL Championship campaign. And they get it done against a very talented Indy 11 roster. They trailed 1-0 after Jake Fendelson stopped a Dane Kelly penalty, and then an ensuing Neville Hackshaw goal. But 2 unanswered goals from Fanuel Kavita and Russell Cicerone, only about 7 or 8 minutes apart, is the demise of Indy 11 of this opening weekend. Devin Kerr, your thoughts?
The first win of many for what should be for St. Louis FC this year. Interesting, jumping back to the Eastern Conference. Not the best that we're going to see out of Indy 11. Again, first match of the season, but implications of what may lie ahead for both of these squads. A lot of talent, not the best execution. At the end of the day, some big names stepped up here. Questionable defending from Indy 11 all night long. This was Dane Kelly, and the response from the home squad after going down just minutes before, Fanuel Kavita, upper 90, able to equalize.
Fanuel Kavita, the wily veteran, is our Pleats man of the match. And Devin, we talked about all the offensive firepower that both teams went to go get in the offseason, and it ends up being 2 center backs who scored 2 of the 3 goals.
Amazing stuff from both squads. But what was interesting was Kavita, it wasn't just the game-tying goal. If you continued through the match, made a couple nice tackles. He was involved on the penalty on the front end, had stepped out, made Sam Fink step over, pointed to the spot. Fendelson grits the great save, but 3 clearances right at the end of the game after some nice movement from Indy 11 really helped secure this match, hold his head high, well-deserved honor.
After a goalless opening hour of football, it was 3 goals in a matter of 16 minutes, 2 for St. Louis, 1 for Indy 11. That ended up being the totality of the scoring here in Fenton, Missouri, as Anthony Pulis and St. Louis FC come away with a mighty impressive win. We're headed to post-game show. Don't go anywhere. Final score, St. Louis 2, Indy 11 1. We'll put a bow on it when we come back.
A year ago, local soccer fans had a chance to celebrate.
And for the first time in club history, St. Louis FC are into the postseason.
Tickets for St. Louis FC on sale now. You can be a part of the action.
And might that just be the goal that sends St. Louis FC into the Western Conference playoffs?
There's season tickets, single game, group, and flex tickets. Something for everyone with St. Louis FC. Support your local team. stlouisfc.com.
Full time here at Toyota, and the St. Louligans are in full voice and are certainly enjoying the start of the 2019 USL Championship campaign. And Fanuel Kavita, the most likely goal scorer that everybody could have predicted heading into the first week, celebrating his equalizer and his man of the match honors. As we will wrap this one up here at Toyota, Tyler Terrence along with Devin Kerr will take a look at how it all went down over the course of these 90 minutes. Devin, first half, not much to talk about. It was St. Louis who were on the front foot a lot, except for Matt Boehner, who was on no feet for a brief moment after Josh Penn was dicing him up left and right.
The 18-year-old stole the show, didn't he? A lot of technical ability, and you brought that up earlier on, how impressive he was standing over the ball, not lacking confidence, has a lot of character behind him as well. I liked the home squad. They seem to actually carry most of the momentum. Pushing into the second half, things started to turn a bit for the visitors, didn't they? We talked about the space, or lack thereof, for Dane Kelly. Things really were clicking, got involved early on. That one went off the post. Cicerone, he really started to make his amends in the second half. A couple opportunities left out to dry in the first. That would come back around, but it all got started with this. Questionable for Anthony Pulis. 100% this is a penalty. When you see Sam Fink come over, helping out his outside back, gets him behind him, takes him down, points to the spot, in steps Dane Kelly.
And Dane Kelly gets the ball, but doesn't necessarily make the most of the situation as Jake Fendelson ends up making a terrific save. But you said that Dane Kelly tipped his hand a little bit.
Look at his hips. They're closed. You can see him coming with the instep. If your hips are closed and you're in the instep, that is coming across your body every single time. Jake Fennelson has read that book before, still had to make the save, did a great job, but St. Louis FC did not follow through on the play. Sam Fink, one of your captains, on the marking side, very, very poor. Neville Hackshaw sees it, follows through in the progression, gets his second pro goal, and is able to get his visiting squad out 1-0. But the home squad would respond almost immediately. Again, poor clearance right here. Watch the ball when it comes to Dane Kelly there. Can't step his foot out, known for goal scoring, not helping on the defensive side of things. Fanuel Kavita making an early case for the Golden Boot in 2019.
It's a terrific finish from Kavita, who's originally from the Democratic Republic of Congo, but moved to Utah at a very young age and has certainly enjoyed his football here in the United States. And then Russell Cicerone in the 77th minute. I mean, this is another broken play, but he was doing that a lot today, where he was just making the most out of minimal situations, and it was just hustle points for Cicerone.
We saw it a lot last year at FC Cincinnati when he did get the opportunity. They were few and far between, but he's a scrapper. Didn't see a lot out of him. I was very impressed with Kadib Dakers on the right. Said they needed to bring that on the left side, get a complete balance. But how about on the defensive side for Martin Rennie in Indy 11? I was not impressed defensively with Patty Barrett, a caller we met. Questionable decisions, one after another, and it came back to bite them.
And I think the latter of those two names probably is going to have a long, hard look in the mirror after this one, and a tongue lashing or so from Martin Rennie, as there were a number of balls that he gave away. The final numbers, Devin, I mean, possession, largely in favor of Indy 11, but the shots and shots on target, probably something we could have expected week one. A lot of shots, not a lot of shots to be tested on these two keepers between Evan Newton and Jake Fennelson.
Couldn't tell you anything about Evan Newton. What were we getting out of him today? Because the goals that were put in front of him, that's almost impossible for a goalkeeper to save. Everything's bouncing around. You said domino, I like that phrase. And he's kind of jumping back and forth, never really fully tested. Liked what we saw out of Fennelson once he got some confidence. That one ball to the back post we questioned. Almost when we said it out on air, got back to normal, got back to basics, got a victory.
Well, for Anthony Pulis and St. Louis FC, hopefully the first of many wins in 2019. And for Indy 11, hopefully just a blip on the radar, as St. Louis come away with an impressive 2-1 win at home after going down 1-0 in the second half. For our entire crew, producer Ryan Rose, director Gage Tillotson, replay operator Jose Boiso, and my main man Devin Kerr, Tyler Terrence signing off here from Fenton, Missouri. Final score, St. Louis 2, Indy 11-1. We'll talk to you soon, folks.
This copyrighted telecast of the United Soccer League Championship cannot be retransmitted, rebroadcast, or reproduced without the expressed written consent of the United Soccer League Championship.